Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Flesh Wound Farce. This is the world's first and only combination trivia host and professional wrestling announcer of Chilean descent that currently resides in Southern California, Ozzy V. And with me, as always, on this program, first in the Northern Bay Area, is Greg. Say hello, Greg.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. I'm noticing your jersey right now. Is that a Spaceballs jersey?
It sure is.
That is fantastic.
You know
it's a
it.
baseball jersey, not a hockey jersey, though.
Right. It's a Spaceball baseball jersey.
Right. There it is. And also with me, as always, on this program is Flesh Wound producer Todd. Chillin', I presume, as always?
I am.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Gentlemen, this week we had the pleasure of watching Young Frankenstein, the classic Mel Brooks film. I'll just read a quick synopsis to catch everybody's minds up. I'm assuming anybody that's listening to this right now has seen this film. And if you have not, I mean, we're not going to really spoil anything, but come on, get on the bus now. Now, synopsis reads as respected medical lecturer, Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, played by Gene Wilder, learns that he has inherited his infamous grandfather's estate in Transylvania. Arriving at the castle, Dr. Frankenstein soon begins to recreate his grandfather's experiments with the help of servants Igor, played by Marty Feldman, and Inga, Teri Garr, and the fearsome Frau Blucher, played by Cloris Leachman. After he creates his own monster, played by Peter Boyle, new complications ensue with the arrival of the doctor's fiancée, Elizabeth, played by the wonderful and talented Madeline Kahn. That was my own commentary there, the wonderful and talented Madeline Kahn, but I don't think anybody would argue with me on that point.
No.
So with this cast also had a great cameo by Gene Hackman, which was such a pleasant surprise to see because you've never, I can't recall anything with Gene Hackman in a comedic role.
I have a tidbit on that one.
Okay.
That he was the tennis partner of Gene Hackman, and that's when he first found out about the movie and always wanted to try his hand at comedy and basically said he'd do it for free. That's how bad he wanted to do it.
Wow. So did he end up doing it for free, or that was just the offer?
It
was probably just the offer.
I don't know.
Right, that's how it goes.
Yeah, that's how it usually
I just know it was like 4 days worth of shooting. So
who? So you said he was the tennis partner of who?
Gene Wilder.
It was the Gene and Gene tennis
team.
Yeah,
Gene
basically
the GG tennis team.
And also he ad-libbed the line I was going to make espresso. So random facts.
Random and wonderful. Also great thing, the entire film is in black and white. And you also had the classic credits in the beginning by having the dots. You know, you had the name and the dots connecting to the roles they're playing. The timing of each scene is so great, and it just gets to a point to where each scene is its own joke. Like, you know, you can watch comedy now and you could point out which, you know, where the jokes are and whatnot. But for this particular movie, it seems like it's an entire scene that gives you the whole joke, which makes it so great as it's going along. And it's a runtime of about an hour and 45 minutes. It doesn't even feel like that. It feels like it just flies by. How do you guys feel? Like, you guys agree with me on that point?
Yeah, totally. And one of the great things about this movie, I mean, we all love Mel Brooks, and oftentimes it's more about the jokes than it is the story. But I really love that, like you said, each scene set up for its specific joke, but it also felt like a great scene in a movie as well. You were able to sit back and like relax into it versus like wait for punchline to punchline, because the story itself was fantastic. So like, not only did you get that great joke like you're saying, but you just got a great experience through the movie, and it was really refreshing to go back and watch it again.
Funny story is, senior year of high school, my English teacher showed us that movie after we actually read Frankenstein, because at the time I haven't seen the I Frankenstein with Aaron Eckhart, but at the time he was saying that Young Frankenstein was the most accurate representation of the book, because
no kidding,
every other movie portrayed Frankenstein's monster as being that a monster and evil and whatnot. Whereas this one showed Frankenstein's monster actually wanted to be cared for. That was the whole point of the book. And that's why he showed us the movies, because it had the more accurate representation of, and we read it as well. So we all got to see it firsthand and understand it. But being like, I had seen like Spaceballs over and over multiple times as a kid, to be honest, because my dad recorded it on Cinemax thinking it was Star Wars. That is a true story. So when it came to other Mel Brooks films, I didn't have the benefit of seeing them multiple times, but this would have been one of them. And that senior year of high school was the first time I had ever seen it. So it added to the whole Mel Brooks thing, because at the time I thought, oh yeah, I like this guy Mel Brooks because he made this one movie, Spaceballs, and I wasn't hip to all the other films coming out, whatnot. So,
well, an interesting fact is this actually used some of the actual set pieces from the original Frankenstein film.
Really? That's funny.
Yeah, like that lab scene is basically all the original.
Excellent.
And I just want to say, this is basically a retelling of Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and the plot. Well, that it hits a few plot points from that, but the actual story is pretty much a remake of Son of Frankenstein. So if you see that, you'll see how close it is. And it actually, this one would actually feels like it would fit in that world. It could have been a sequel, because there was humorous ones throughout the series. I mean, none like Abbott and Costello, but it was serious enough that it felt like it would have lived there. And in Son of Frankenstein, there is a grandson, which would have been the right great grandson of. It would have perfectly been Gene Wilder, and he even has the curly hair. So, it like works out if you've seen Son of Frankenstein, and then that's his grandson, and it would have pieced together.
Interesting. I had a great thought that manifested in my head, and it just took off like my chances in fantasy football today. So, yeah. Now, I want to get to our favorite jokes of the film, because for me, it was like everybody was able to play their roles. Not like, okay, so last week we watched Repossessed, right? And Repossessed was, there was no fourth wall. Like it was very goofy, right? And just watching 30 seconds of it, you're like, okay, these people know they're in a goofy movie and they're being goofy, whatever. But this movie, they're actually playing their roles seriously. And it makes the humor seem so organic. Like, to my favorite exchange was when you had the monster choking Frankenstein and they couldn't understand him for the sedative. So he starts playing charades and Igor yells, "Sedative." I start laughing there like a lot. It's been a while since I've seen this movie. So I start laughing a lot at that point. Then they finally give him the sedative, and there's that silence. You don't see any reaction from Gene Wilder, and there's just this perfect timing and this perfect. He sets him down. Sedative. It put me on another level, right? And then he starts choking Igor, and then Igor starts doing the charades. I lost it for a third time. So that's what I'm talking about. Like it didn't just seem like one joke. It was like that had to be set up by XYZ happening.
Right.
And it made that payoff that much better. What
Kind
about
of
you
like
guys?
The dart joke as well.
The what joke?
The dart joke when they're playing.
Oh, yes.
So they're throwing the darts and he throws them outside. Next scene when the guy's leaving, the carriage has got a flat tire. The guy's got a dart in his hat. Like, fantastically well set up scene. But I'd say my favorite joke, and it's tough because I love Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder is fantastic. But my favorite joke out of this entire entire moment was, or this entire movie was, when Captain Kemp, is that his name?
The Inspector,
yeah, has a monocle on top of an eye patch, and that alone is, I mean, that's just funny. It's a funny sight gag, and that they could have left it at that, and that's funny. But when he walks over and the monocle falls, and he has to take a moment to clean it off, because, you know, you can't have any spots to blur the vision through your eye patch, and then puts it back, like, so well set up and executed, and unnecessary, completely unnecessary. But it's a fantastic, well thought out, unnecessary joke.
Comedic bonus.
I'm just going to add one more thing I forgot to mention earlier. The inspector with the wooden arm is also taken straight out of Son of Frankenstein. They have the same, So if you want to compare them, that's a good one to go with. My favorite is the I want to make sure I get it right, because I have a second. Okay, well, yeah, the what knockers, and then Teri Garr replies, "Thank you, doctor."
Yes,
referring to her her knockers. My second is also the roll in the hay line too. I honestly think, because of Madeline Kahn, Teri Garr is like underappreciated in this film. Because Madeline Kahn, so I get it, but I think she delivers a solid performance in here that's not often given credit.
100%. When I first saw this movie, I first knew Teri Garr from Mr. Mom, so I was surprised to see her in this movie when I first saw it, and but I'd known who Madeline Kahn was, and that didn't surprise me when I saw her. And of course, also with Gene Wilder and whatnot. So, yeah, you're right. I definitely agree with you on that. She she did a good job that isn't really remembered for in that movie.
Yeah, overshadowed by other comedy greats.
That's fair. It was a great cast. I mean, you also had Cloris Leachman there.
Yeah.
Now we'll get to our ratings here, so I'll kick things off. Not yet.
No, well, I was going to say no one gave any love for Marty Feldman. I mean, he's hilarious in it. The hump that was improvised that keeps changing sides. That was a total on the fly thing. So I just wanted to throw, because I love Marty Feldman. I love him in this. So just wanted to give him
he was the comedic relief of the comedic relief.
Yeah,
he'd be the one that would look at the camera, right? And the timing of him and Gene Wilder's first exchange. Dr. Frankenstein. Actually, it's Frankenstein. Oh, so it's Froderick? No, it's Frederick. Oh, I'm Igor. Like, just that back and forth. It was so quick and just beautifully put together. So I want to get to the ratings right now, if you guys don't have anything else to add. So
go for it.
With me, I think there's just it's good, great, but for me, not perfect. And I think for me, it's just like, if I'm going to rate something a 5 out of 5 stars, it has to hit personally with me. And there's 5-star movies for me out there that are probably 3 stars out there for somebody else. So for me and my, personality, I would have to say 4.5. That doesn't mean it's bad by any means. Right. I just wouldn't, for me, it just doesn't get that 5 out of 5 for my sense of humor, personality, whatnot, but still very high up there.
What brought it down a little bit?
It's tough to say, because that half star for me is something along the lines of where it's got to hit like this, I mean, spoiler alert, we'll do this sometime in the future. History of the World Part 1. For me, that was 5 stars, from the first time I saw it. To me, that was the perfect Mel Brooks movie. And I think it's because it didn't really feel, I don't want to get into too much like that. We'll save that for that episode. But in terms of this one, it just, it doesn't hit me like as that perfect Mel Brooks comedy I want. But I think that could be my own personal bias because I already have that own personal favorite Mel Brooks movie in my head. And
right.
I guess for me, I don't want to put anything on that level. And I'm sure there's tons of people. And in terms of the writing, I'll say that Young Frankenstein has better writing than History of the World in terms of the movie itself. But in terms of, I mean, there used to be an old gaming magazine called Game Pro, and they had different things on their ratings. And you could have a game have 5 out of 5 graphics, 5 out of 5 controls, but the fun factor would only be 3 out of 5. Like the writing on this film is, I would say 5 out of 5. The acting on this film is 5 out of 5. But for my personal fun factor, I would say 4.5 out of 5, which is just, I mean, and for me to hit 5 out of 5 has got to be, it's just got to be like, I just got to know it like inside. And for some reason, never hit me inside like, oh, this is total. I mean, oh, this is great, but just not.
No, that's fair. That's fair, and I understand. It's
that's just me though. That's my own personal,
No, for sure. It's like that little extra zest that makes something special and unique. And when you're trying to judge the gods on Mount Olympus of Mel Brooks movies, it's really hard to rank them and put one above the other. So, but it has to be done. I have to go with the 5 out of 5 on this one for myself personally, because there's Mel Brooks is just I'm a huge fan. Gene Wilder is fantastic through and through. I'm loving every second of what he does, and the fact that this movie is what made it so that Mel Brooks was confident in putting him in Blazing Saddles. The just the steps of what this movie was, the fact that it felt more like a movie, like with a great like continual story, as well as had its funny moments. And I believe truly movies like this set up for the world of dad jokes, because taking things so literally like Mel Brooks does. So for all those reasons, and it wasn't like laugh out loud the entire time, but as an entire entity, I'm giving it that 5 out of 5.
So, all right. Oh, so go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, for me, because this falls into the horror comedy genre, it's like I have ones that I know are like, for me, are going to surpass this. Just, my opinion. But I'm a 4. I'm a little lower than you guys, but again, 4 out of 5. That's still, an awesome film. Just a little under for me. One fact that I did not mention that I think you guys might be interested in is Gene Wilder only agreed to do this if Mel Brooks agreed not to appear in it, because he thought it would take the audiences out of it.
On screen.
Yes, good. There we go. I was gonna get to that. You want to tell them the off-screen appearance?
So the sound, that great joke in the beginning of the werewolves, and he said, "Their wolf, their wolf." Those wolves were actually Mel Brooks.
So technically, he did not appear on screen.
Okay, well there you go. Now the one thing I was going to say is it's kind of a small elephant in the podcast room here. Is Todd and I are saying Wilder, and Greg, you're saying Wilder.
Yes.
Did I miss like an interview or something where?
No, but I figured if he was going to go by Frankenstein, I would call him Wilder for this movie.
Okay, that's a fair point. Because I was like, wait, have I been saying it wrong this whole time?
No,
like Oscar Wilde and Wilder.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up then, Ozzy.
Because also
it would have bothered me.
my wife called him Wilder for the longest time, and I was like, that is wrong. But after watching the movie, I had to pull it in.
No, that makes sense. The Frankenstein gimmick. Absolutely. Yeah. But definitely recommended to watch if you haven't. And even if you've seen it, just watch it again. When was the last time you've seen it? Definitely a great movie to watch this time of year. And speaking of this time of year, we're going to continue next week's episode by watching and reviewing Dracula Dead and Loving It. Also Mel Brooks and also Leslie Nielsen. who was starring in Repossessed that we reviewed last week. Anything else you'd like to add before we head out this week, gentlemen?
Thanks for this being one of the movies, because it was a great revisit, man. Like that made my night.
Yeah, same here. I'm looking forward to next week's because I don't think I've ever actually sat down and watched it.
So, I can say it's been at least a decade that I've last seen Dracula Dead and loving it. So yeah, it'll be great to revisit that and review it and talk about it a little bit. And that's all you guys got. We'll see you guys next week. He's Greg, that's Todd, and I'm Ozzy V. We'll see you next week, everybody. Have a good night.